What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Young Rebel Podcast. I am your host, the Rebel. Today we're going to be talking about, here we go again, your video may be lagging. I don't think it's lagging. What other apps could this thing be talking about? Maybe it's talking about Discord being open. I don't know. Message here from Doofart. Either way, this movie or this podcast is brought to you by. This is brought to you by. Wow, I forgot the name of my sponsors. I'm a slap dick. This podcast is brought to you by. Whoa, I seriously forgot the name of them. Grind Gaming from grindgaming.com. Whoa, it's been a long day, fellas. It's been a long day. Check out Grind Gaming. Use my discount code YoungRebel5 to save yourself 5% on your purchase today. They got awesome hats, shirts, and hoodies. I've got a hoodie sitting in the other room there. It's so warm, so comfortable, and it's freaking awesome. This stream is whoa. Here I go again, talking about streams. Guys, I'm not streaming, I'm podcasting right now. Maybe I should stream a podcast one day. I don't know. You guys are going to have to stop. Like, seriously, God, dog. I'm in all these Discord chats now, and it's just constant. Blurp, 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 blurp. Anyway, this podcast is brought to you by DraftMate. If you're tired of swiping left and right to find the love of your life, how about you try drafting? You know, just you draft up, you draft down, and you might find the love of your life. Guys, you know, my love life is an absolute mess. It's an absolute joke. Well, I mean, I just got a message from a young lady here. Which is why you guys need to get on DraftMate. Because, trust and believe, the Rebel would not lie to you. I don't lie. I have better things to do than sit here and lie to you. But, yeah, guys, get on DraftMate. Start drafting for the love of your life. DraftMate. Stop swiping, start drafting. Today, we're going to be talking about Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman, what's the name of this movie? Wonder Woman 1984, something like that. So as you guys saw in my last video, my last podcast, I said that I don't think we should be going into this video on demand releases for movies that would typically come out in theater. Now, I understand that we're in a different situation at this point in time. You know, we have COVID-19 floating around throughout the air, and it's hurting businesses. It's hurting people at home. It's hurting everybody. And theaters are unfortunately also part of the people who are suffering. And I hope that theater workers are able to get through this. I hope they come out of this with a job either at the theater or somewhere else entirely. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't care where you work as long as you work and you were able to feed yourself and your family. Pay your bills, all those things. Those are the things that are important. I gotta say though, as much as I do not like the idea of movies coming directly to our TVs at home so we can sit on our butts, on our couches, and watch movies, I'm really glad Wonder Woman came directly to my TV because this movie was horrible. Just horrible. I mean, this movie opened the floodgates to so many questions about Wonder Woman and her powers as a whole. I mean, at one point, I honestly asked myself, what are Wonder Woman's powers? Does anybody even know what Wonder Woman's powers are? Does this movie even know what Wonder Woman's powers are? So I ended up looking it up because, I mean, we all know damn well she cannot fly and lassos cannot stretch for miles. We just know this. This movie, it could also just be a thing about that I have with DC. We all know that I'm not the biggest DC fan. We know that I prefer Marvel over DC, whether it be comics or movies. But I have read my fair share of comic books on the DC side, and I mean, I just gotta be honest with you. Some of the things that I saw in this movie, I never saw in comics. I haven't read that many of them, but still, I never saw this stuff in the comics. So let's attack what her actual abilities are. Now I'm getting this directly from Google. So I mean, if Google's wrong, Google's wrong. But I don't think it is wrong. Google's typically not too wrong, guys. Um, so character powers for Wonder Woman, superhuman strength. We all know that. We all know that. And, at some point we see her losing her powers throughout the movie because she's wishing on to Chris Pine, Steve, and she's trying to hold on to him. But the longer time goes, the more she loses her powers. So it kind of reminds me a little bit of Spider-Man 2, where Spider-Man's slowly losing his powers and stuff, but he gets them back. Not that he was doing anything wrong; it was just growing pains of the job, growing pains of being Spider-Man. So we saw that she could hardly take a lock off of a door, which typically she just yanks right onto it, and boom, it lock will pop right off. Anyway, so she's got the superhuman strength, telepathy, teleportation, which I did not know. That's new. Empathy, I knew that. Magic, I did not really know that. I don't know where the magic actually comes into, but apparently she's got some magical powers. Superhuman speed, we all know that. Just about every superhero has superhuman speed. Like, they are all able to do things faster and stronger and better and more agile than the rest of us. So, I mean, yeah. A healing factor, and we do see that she's losing her healing factor throughout the movie. She's struggling. She's getting mollywopped, and I mean, it's taking a toll on her. Superhuman stamina, we can see that she gets tired rather quickly. Superhuman durability, we can see she's not as durable throughout the movie. Superhuman agility, we can see that she's not as agile throughout the movie through a couple fight scenes that she has. A power ring, I have no idea what they're talking about. Superhuman reflexes, we do see, not a lot. Not a lot, because her reflexes are good enough to block bullets and actually use her lasso, which most of the time is not actually a lasso, it's more like a whip that spins into a lasso. But anyway, at one point in time, it grabs hold of a bullet and yanks it back from Chris Pine. So Chris Pine's not shot directly between the eyeballs. And yeah, those are her powers according to Google. Nowhere in here does it mention any type of flight. Nowhere in here does it mention any type of stretching ability for the lasso of truth. We do see that she uses the lasso of truth a lot more, and we see that she's able to use the lasso of truth in the end, the final, I guess you could say, a fight scene. It wasn't much of a fight scene. She basically lassoed onto the old dude. He's not even old, but the main villain, I guess you could call him, lassos onto his leg, and she's speaking the facts of life to everybody throughout the world. He's broadcasting his villainous speech, trying to gain all the power ever, and she lassos onto his leg, and she starts speaking. So she's speaking through the lasso of truth and is broadcasting out to everybody else. And it's a really good message. I don't have a problem with the message, but I have a problem with the way that we got to this message. I have a problem with the way that this movie was dealt to us. Like this. Ultimately, the movie is, whoa, my hands are ashy. Whoa. Anyway, I have a problem with the way this movie was given to us. It's boring. It's boring. I watched 30 minutes on Christmas Day. I watched 5 minutes the day after, mostly because I had to go to work the next day and I was tired. So I watched some then. And then yesterday, New Year's Eve, I'm sitting there watching Wonder Woman 1984 or 84, whatever they call this movie. I call it Wonder Woman, the crappy edition, because I think Wonder Woman, the first one, is a lot better. Number two, no thank you. This is horrible. This is just horrible. Um, and I'm sitting here watching this movie, hoping that it gets better, hoping that it gets better, and it just never happens. It just never gets there. Like, why does Kristen Wiig become Cheetah? Like, why is she a bad person all of a sudden? She used to be, and I mean, sure, the stone gives, but the stone also takes. You ask for a wish, and it takes a piece of you away when it grants you that wish. So everyone's out here getting their wish, but I mean, this is just so childish. Everyone's out here asking for a wish. They're getting their wish, and then the stone takes a piece away from them. A piece of what makes them them. Like, we see Wonder Woman losing her powers. We see Kristen Wiig losing her fun and likable personality. I don't even know what Kristen Wiig's character's name was. I just know that's Kristen Wiig. That's how this movie was just so... It's tough. It's really tough. This movie was just so... I don't know. It was underwhelming. It was really and truly underwhelming, and at the end of the day, it just left me like, wow, this is what we were dealt. I wish for a better movie. I wish this movie never came out. And like I said at the start of this, I'm really glad that I did not have to pay $10 to go sit in a movie theater like I would like to and eat a bowl of popcorn like I would like to. I'm glad I did not spend the 24, because for me, it's about 24 to $30 to go see a movie, depending on what day I go. Now, if I go on a Tuesday, sure, it's a little bit cheaper, but I typically don't go to movie theaters on Tuesday because I have to work the next day. But with this new job, I might have a little more time at night to go do things after work. Either way, I'm really glad that I did not pay to see this movie. I mean, I have AT&T internet. AT&T gives you HBO Max for free. So I was able to watch it that way. That's how I watch a lot of things on HBO, because I get HBO Max with my internet. And the best internet I've ever had, AT&T. It's Charter / Spectrum, not good. Not good at all whatsoever. So, I mean, you know, this kind of falls into a pattern that DC movies have. And unfortunately, well, I'm not going to say all DC movies. The DCEU has a massive problem. Just massive. They cannot produce good movies. Now, Superman, you're starting something. Fine. I'll give you a pass. You're trying to start something. Who's this? Hey, I'm getting more people to message me on LinkedIn. The DCEU has a massive problem because these superheroes, the only superhero who actually got an origin story that made sense, well, I guess two eventually got a origin story. Superman got his origin story, and then it just went to absolute hell from there. And then Aquaman also got an origin story. And I mean, his origin story, I really liked his origin story in theaters, but when I saw it the second time from my own home, I was like, wow, this is really dumb. Sorry, we're having some technological issues here. I'm not sure what's going on with my camera, but we're back. Second time when I saw Aquaman, I was like, yeah, you know, this is really a dumb movie. And it's upsetting that DC, because DC has some decent characters. I mean, we've seen plenty of Batman movies. Batman is the only, well, actually no, Superman, because Christopher Reeves had his good run. And I mean, if you count Smallville, Superman's pretty freaking awesome. And I mean, Smallville does all of the superheroes some justice. So I got to give Smallville as props there. Smallville had the best Lex Luthor of all time in Michael Rosenbaum. He's got a really good podcast, Inside View, with Michael Rosenbaum. Great podcast, great podcast. I highly suggest you listen to that. Probably the only podcast I would give props to on this podcast. But yeah, there's something about DC that just cannot get movies right. They can get animated movies pretty good. Those are solid. Those are fun to watch. I can watch those all the time. Comics, they're decent. They're not great. My main issue with DC is they create godlike characters. Characters that you and I cannot... We can't relate to those characters because they are just beyond this world. They are not ordinary people like you and I. They didn't just earn their powers by chance. They didn't get bitten by a spider that happens to be radioactive. They didn't come up with, Iron Man and Batman are probably the closest things. They weren't tortured into having their powers like a Wolverine. They didn't go through massive amounts of persecution because they were born with powers like the X-Men. There's just so many... not that we're born with powers or anything, but on the Marvel side of things, you can at least relate to these characters. And I think that's why Marvel's so great. They're relatable people. They're relatable characters. You can't relate with the people on DC. Not that I'm Superman or anything, but I think Superman's the closest thing that we can come to as far as relatable characters. I really and truly do. We already have established that Spider-Man is the most realistic character of all superheroes. So let's get that straight. And I guess Hawkeye or even Green Arrow would be really close. Green Arrow, he's a good one. Hawkeye and Green Arrow are basically the same people. Just one's DC and one's Marvel. And we've seen plenty of times where Hawkeye has awesome parts in movies. We've seen an entire show of the Green Arrow. We've seen episodes of Green Arrow mixed into Smallville, and it's actually really good. But when you get to movies that the DCEU has produced, and I don't know if this is true or not, I've not actually looked into it. I could probably look into it now, honestly, but I don't really care. I'm not here to bash the movie. I'm just here to give it a review. Wonder Woman is the lowest rated movie in the DCEU. And the fact that it comes in lower, supposedly, the fact that it supposedly comes in lower than Aquaman, the fact that it supposedly comes in lower than the Justice League, which I think was just incredibly bad. The fact that it comes in lower than Batman versus Superman, which is probably, in my eyes, one of the worst superhero movies of all time. I cannot, at this exact moment in time, I cannot sit here and think of a movie that was worse than Batman versus Superman. Now, I had no idea that I could be completely wrong. Maybe I knew Wonder Woman was going to show up in that movie. But thinking back, I had no freaking idea that Wonder Woman was going to show up. So, that was a nice surprise, but that was it. That was it. I actually fell asleep in the middle of that movie because I got so bored. That's how boring that movie was. And then for it to end the way that it does. You got Superman dying. You got Superman and Batman fighting each other. And Batman's about to lose. Superman's about to lose. And he's all like, Martha! And Batman's like, why do you say that now? One of the two is like, why do you say that? Clearly the movie's not that memorable. I just remember the pure stupidity that came with the end of the movie. Either way, Superman dies fighting against Doomsday. They bury him and all that. They bring him back in the Justice League. Justice League is absolutely horrible. And what's his name? Barry Allen or whatever they call him in that movie. The Flash. I could not get into him. I think they need to get Grant Gustin as the DCEU version of the Flash. I think he does a great job in the movie. I think he makes the most sense for, or not the movie, but the TV show on the CW. I think he would do a great job for the movie moving forward. Because, I mean, Ezra Miller, he's fine, but I mean, I wasn't buying it. I could not get into it. I thought he was rather boring and just, I don't know, just too fun. Like, dude, come on now. I don't know, guys. Wonder Woman 1984 is a flop. I'm so happy that I did not have to spend money to see this movie in theaters. I'm so glad I did not have to spend money to buy a bowl of popcorn and a soda. Because I was able to sit there on my couch and watch it over a span of 3 days, because that's how boring it was. Typically, I can watch a movie start to finish, but this movie was so boring, I had to break it up. I had to. Like, either I was falling asleep, I was just so bored, I was like, let me watch something else. There was just so many issues with this movie, and it made no freaking sense. I mean, she's literally whipping her lasso onto lightning bolts, and then she's flying. Nowhere in here. I mean, I can read you the list again, but you guys can honestly just send it right back. You can, what's it called? Rewind. I've read you the list. Flight is not a power that Wonder Woman has. This movie has opened the floodgates to questions of what Wonder Woman's powers actually are. And that's the disturbing part. Does the DC even have a clue what Wonder Woman's powers are? Now, it was a nice touch that at the end, the original Wonder Woman had a little scene. I thought that was great. But other than that, what is this movie? Why was this movie brought into existence? Now, I could be completely wrong, but I don't think COVID was a reason for this movie being pushed back a second time. I think the movie was pushed back originally because they needed to do some reshoots and adjustments to the movie. How bad was this movie? How bad was this movie before it was pushed back again for COVID restrictions? How bad was this movie? And why did they not fix it to the point where it was tolerable? Because this movie is completely intolerable. This has got to be one of the worst superhero movies I've seen in my entire life. And I know we're in this world full of woman power and women are awesome. I have no problem with the actress. I think she's beautiful. I think she's awesome. She's a great Wonder Woman. But the story is just horrible. It makes no sense. None. Like a rock that has the power to give but also take. I can get with that. But this rock also created the cheetah because she wanted to be like Wonder Woman. But she lost her ability to be a likable individual. I have to give this movie an F. I have to. As much as I don't want to, I was actually looking forward to this movie. You guys saw the podcast when I was talking about Soul and how I'm excited to sit down and watch Wonder Woman at noon. Guys, I sat down and watched Wonder Woman at 12:30 that day. And I only got 30 minutes in. I was like, oh my God, this is boring. this is really boring. Now, sure, the part where Kristen Wiig, her character, when she got some justice to the cat caller, which, I mean, that scene was just like, that's great for her, but I would at least like to know what happened to the guy afterwards. Like, are we not going to give him jail time? Because, I mean, what he did was assault. What he did was assault. Are we not going to throw him in jail? What happens? Is he just going to get his butt kicked and just lay out in the street? The guy who sees the cheetah doing these things, did he not call the cops on her? Was he not like, did he not go to work the next day and be like, hey, what are you doing? Barbara? What are you doing? What was that about last night? Barbara, I thought you were nice and bubbly and fun. Like, what were you doing last night? Why was homeboy just laying out on the street like that? Not a soul asked her any type of questions as to what's going on with her. The movie was just delusional, man. Everybody was delusional throughout the entire movie, and the movie as a whole is just a delusional movie. Yeah, guys. I mean, the mall scene's cool. It starts out. I mean, I was not impressed. Let's say that. It felt like a movie. So here's the thing. When you make a movie that's placed in the past, like the 1980s, that's cool. But I don't think the movie should feel like a 1980s movie. It felt that cheesy. It felt like a 1980s movie in the year of 2020. I don't think that that's necessary. Sure, make it feel like, yeah, we're there, but don't make it cheesy to the point of like, yeah, we have such poor CGI that she's clearly flying in front of a screen. I mean, they flew through freaking fireworks, y'all. They flew an airplane through fireworks. Sure, the airplane was invisible, but guess what? Invisible does not give you the ability to become not there. Just because you can't be seen does not mean people can float through you. Invisibility, that's another thing. Invisibility is not even on this list of powers that Wonder Woman has. Where did this movie get these powers from? Where did y'all come up with this? Are y'all sure this is a DC movie? Because now, you guys have opened the floodgates of many questions. Now I'm curious if Clark Kent is even vulnerable to Krypton, to kryptonite. Is he just gonna start eating kryptonite now and be like, oh, this powers me up? I don't know. Part of me is hoping that this has to do something with the Flash movie that they're supposedly working on. But, I don't think that movie is ever going to come out. I hope that this might be the alternate reality that we're in due to the Flash going back into time. Guys, that's the only way that this movie can be fixed. The Flash has to go back into time and mess things up the way the Flash does, like he does on the TV show, in order for this movie to make any type of sense. Because this was a flat-out alternate reality of the DC universe. Straight up. And, I feel really bad for all the people who worked on this movie, except for the writers. They wrote it, and the executives who produced it, and they put their stamp of approval on this, and they said, yes, this is a movie. When this is, if you ask me, a shit show of special effects that amount to nothing. Special effects that forgot about logic. Guys, I was bored. I was so bored. And I don't know. Like, this is a lackluster movie, if you ask me. Very lackluster. And honestly, I do have to say, Aquaman is probably better than this movie. And Aquaman was dumb. Aquaman's just a dumb superhero to begin with. But Aquaman made more sense than this movie did. And I mean, I'm sure there was fire underwater in Aquaman at one point in time. Make that make sense. So yeah, guys, not a good movie. By the time you guys see this, you'll have a few days to, have a couple days left to watch it. I highly suggest either you watch it on your HBO Max or you just flat out not watch it at all. Wait for it to come out on the cable or something. Don't go to the movies. Don't spend your money, man. Just don't. It's not worth it. Save your money. Whoa, that was a sneeze, baby. That was a sneeze. Yeah, guys, save your money. I would not spend money on this movie, so I don't want to see you guys spend money on this movie. If you have the ability to watch it for free, if you have access to somebody's HBO account, go for it. But don't go to the movie theaters and see it. And while I was sitting there watching it the first couple of times, I was like, maybe I should go to the movie theater this weekend and watch this movie. And then the third time I sat down and just watched it flat out all the way through, just finished it. I was like, yeah, there's no way I can spend money on this. This is horrible. It's not even worth the shot of being like, maybe the IMAX can save this movie. If the screen has to save a movie, and I got 4K TV, if a screen has to save a movie, it's not worth it. It is not worth it, and this movie is not worth it. So yeah, save your money, stay home, watch it there if you want to see it that bad. Otherwise, wait until we can go back to movie theaters and see movies like Quiet Place Part 2, Black Widow. I'm really looking forward to that. Black Widow's going to be awesome. But yeah, guys, there's so many movies that's coming out here in 2021, so make sure you guys check those out. I'm looking forward to it. I know you guys are probably looking forward to it as well. Yeah, guys, thanks so much for watching today's episode. I'm going to go watch some football. I need to sweep my floor. I can feel my feet sliding through the dirt or the dust, whatever this is. I've not swept this floor in a minute. Maybe I'll watch football and sweep my floor because it definitely needs it. Definitely. Yeah, guys, thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for listening to today's episode. I love you guys from the bottom of my heart all the way to the top until it explodes. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Remember to leave 5-star ratings on whatever you're watching or listening to this podcast on, whether it be YouTube. I know a lot of you guys like to watch the YouTube channel or the YouTube video. I'm not sure why. Probably because it's just the new generation of people. I'm not exactly sure. But if you guys are listening on Anchor, leave a review. If you guys are listening on Apple Podcasts, leave a review. Spotify, leave a review. Google Podcasts, leave a review. Anywhere that you're listening to this podcast or watching it, leave a review. It's free. It helps me grow. It helps the Rebel community grow. And we all want to grow here. Guys, we're at 411 followers as of January 1st, 2021. And it's just mind-blowing that the Twitch has blown up this much. When I first started Twitch, I had no idea that I would grow this well in a span of a year. It's literally been a year as of December 30th, 2020. It had been a year, and it's just mind-blowing. We picked up so many followers that night, too. I think we picked up 10 followers that night or something. So, yeah, guys, I mean, if you guys want to start getting into Twitch, just go for it, man. Don't listen to what people have to say. Just go for it. And, that's probably what the people who made Wonder Woman thought. They probably said, we're going to make a DC movie, a DCEU movie, and we're just going to go for it. Balls to the wall, just go for it. Well, let me tell you, they shouldn't have gone for it. You should, I should, everybody else should, but DC needs to reevaluate what's going on in their lives. But guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next podcast, or you'll hear me in the next podcast. I'm not sure what to say or how to end these, besides just saying thanks. Peace.